How you guys doing today? My name is Professor Smellgood, and welcome to Sunnah Aroma Academy, where I'm teaching you guys how to sell the oils. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and now. The 70s, the 80s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. The 70s is pretty much, first and foremost, let me say this. Oil's been out for the longest, man. Oil's been out ever since during the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Actually, to go back a little bit further than that, oil's been out. The Hindu culture was really heavy upon the oils. Matter of fact, the word I thought of Attar, as a lot of us Muslim brothers we say, that actually came from the Hindus. That came from the Hindus. That didn't come from us Muslim brothers. That specific term name that came from them. That's fragrance is part of their culture. So oil's been around for a long time, but the thing is, us Muslims, we took it to a whole nother level like nobody has ever done it before. I mentioned before Al-Kindi, Ibn Sina, these perfume chemists of the past who took the fragrance world, specifically the oils, the fragrance oil to a whole nother level. Now, so now that I got that across, that oil's been around for a long time. In the 70s here in America, it was not really known to too many people. It was known in America too because, as I mentioned in my previous lesson, that the African Muslims from Al-Andalus, from Spain, what they used to do is they was very familiar with Al-Kindi, the perfume chemist Al-Kindi. They was very familiar with Al-Kindi, and they used to get perfume from him, buy wholesale from him, right? And they would come to America and they would trade with the indigenous people, and they would trade. One of the things they would use to trade was actually fragrance oils. So fragrance oils was introduced to the indigenous people of America, but that's way before Columbus, by the way. Now, but in the 70s, that's when oils started to really come back out and become familiar to the people. At first, actually in the 70s when oils came out, not too many people knew about the oils besides the Muslim community. The non-Muslim community, they was not familiar with the oils. The white community, they was not familiar with the oils. Nobody was familiar with the oils except for the African American Muslims, or actually let me say the Muslim community, because it's so strong in our literature, our Islamic literature. So what happened was, in the 70s, it was only like, as mentioned by Brother Abdul Hamid, may Allah preserve him, he said there was only like the basic fragrance, Egyptian musk, African musk, Somali rose, patchouli, opium, those types right there. In the 70s, it was the basic ones. Now, the 80s, in the 70s, it was pretty much, it was new to everybody. It was new to everybody. When it came to the 80s, that's when, the Egyptian musk and stuff like that was banging. It was popular. The 70s, it was new to everybody. The 80s, by the 80s, 10 years, those fragrances, they was known well: Egyptian musk, African musk, Somali rose, frankincense, myrrh, etc. When the 90s came, that's when the designers, they started to become popular, because they started to see that, okay, people like these oils, so let's try to imitate the designers. So that's when they came out with Obsession, of course, Cool Water, Lagerfeld, Great Flannel, those type of smells. And so now check this out. White Diamond, when it hit the 90s, that's the 90s right there. Cool Water, Lagerfeld, so that's when it hit the 90s. Now when it hit the 2000s, it became so popular that they would try to imitate every single new fragrance that came out. And even still to this day, we have just about every fragrance that came out in the cologne, or originally the original name was actually Hungary Water.